Imagine a world celebrated as the birthplace of democracy, philosophy, and art, a world where marble temples reached toward the heavens and great thinkers shaped ideas that still guide us today. But beneath the brilliance of ancient Greece lay another reality, one built not on ideals, but on suffering. For every soaring speech about liberty, there were countless silenced voices in chains. For every masterpiece of art, there was a hidden trail of human misery. This is the story of one such voice, not a philosopher or a statesman, but a boy whose life reveals the brutal truth behind civilization's shining image. He was born in a small mountain village where life was hard but familiar. The family struggled, and when debts grew unbearable, his parents made an impossible choice. To keep their other children alive, they sold their son into slavery. He left behind the smell of his mother's garden, the sound of his father's voice carried by the wind, and the laughter of siblings who would remember him only as the brother who vanished one day. The journey from his home ended in Athens, the beating heart of Greek society. But for him, it was not a city of opportunity, it was a prison. Purchased by a wealthy household, he became invisible overnight, stripped of his name, his freedom, and his future. In the grand symposiums where men debated virtue and justice, he served silently, forced to meet the needs of his masters. To the world outside, the house was a place of culture and refinement. Behind closed doors, it was a stage for cruelty. The boy endured years of this double life. By day, he carried food and wine for men who shaped philosophy. By night, he was used and discarded in ways that left scars deeper than flesh. He learned to move like a shadow, unnoticed unless summoned. He became skilled at disappearing into the background, existing only when required, surviving by becoming almost less than human in the eyes of those who claimed to value reason and ethics. As time passed, his body began to carry the toll of this hidden servitude. Injuries never healed properly, his joints ached, and a persistent cough rattled his chest. The beauty and youth that once made him desirable had faded. In a world where a slave's worth was measured only in usefulness, he was no longer profitable. One morning, he was summoned and told of his fate. He would be sold to a mining camp in the mountains, a place where slaves were sent to die slowly, worked until their bodies broke under the weight of stone and dust. It was not punishment, nor reward of merely economics. The boy understood what awaited him. The mines were known as a death sentence without trial, where life expectancy was measured in months, not years. Yet even in this moment, something unexpected occurred. A fellow slave, Marcus, who had endured alongside him since the beginning, pressed a small shard of sharpened metal into his hand. It was crude, but powerful, a tool that could open locks, or veins, or serve as a weapon. Marcus said nothing, but the meaning was clear. The boy had a choice. That night, as he lay awake in his cell, he weighed his options. Escape was nearly impossible, with chains and guards ensuring capture. Revenge offered fleeting satisfaction, but certain death. Suicide promised dignity, allowing him to end his story on his own terms. Yet as dawn approached, he made a different decision. He hid the shard where other slaves might find it. The gift Marcus gave him, he chose to pass forward, ensuring that even if his story ended, another might still carve a different path. The journey to the mines took him past landscapes that stirred memories long buried, mountain streams where he once played, forests alive with wind and bird song, villages that might have been his own. He didn't attempt escape. Instead, he used the journey as a final farewell to the world he had lost. Each tree, each river, each passing face reminded him of the boy he once was before chains replaced childhood. The mining camp was worse than he had imagined. Narrow tunnels caved in without warning. The air, thick with choking dust, tore at lungs and blinded eyes. Slaves were pushed to meet impossible quotas until their bodies collapsed. Here, death was not sudden but stretched out, each day another step toward the inevitable. And yet, within this circle of hell, something remarkable survived. The slaves formed their own fragile society. They shared food when they could, supported the weakest among them, and whispered stories that kept their humanity alive. They remembered names, traditions, and languages that their captors tried to erase. In these whispers, the boy's story became part of something larger. He was no longer just a victim, but a witness whose life carried meaning beyond himself. His end came quietly. Years of abuse and dust finally destroyed his lungs. His weakened body could not withstand yet another collapse. Surrounded by fellow slaves, he slipped away, not in silence, but in remembrance. They promised to carry his story forward, to speak his name, so it would not vanish entirely into the dark. But his death was not the end. Stories like his echoed through time. They remind us that behind every celebrated civilization, behind every achievement we admire, there is a foundation of suffering often ignored. The Greece that gave the world democracy and philosophy also normalized the dehumanization of entire populations. The contradiction was not an accident, it was a design. And the echoes of this design reach into the present. Today, we pride ourselves on progress, on human rights, on justice. Yet children are still trafficked across borders, hidden in plain sight. Corporations still profit from forced labor, buried beneath layers of legality and supply chains. Addiction epidemics are manufactured by industries while being studied as academic curiosities. Social media platforms, meant to connect us, instead funnel vulnerable young people toward harm, just as ancient symposiums masked cruelty with talk of enlightenment. The truth is uncomfortable, but undeniable. Civilization has always carried its brilliance on the backs of the powerless. The marble columns and mosaics of ancient Athens are not so different from the gleaming skyscrapers and digital networks of our age. Both hide the stains of suffering beneath their beauty. Both are built on systems that sacrifice the vulnerable for the comfort of the powerful. The boy whose name history forgot was not unique. He was one among thousands, his voice silenced, his life consumed. Yet in remembering him, even in imagining him, we break the silence that systems of power depend on. His story warns us that progress without compassion is not progress at all. That brilliance without humanity is only another mask for cruelty. We are not separate from those ancient people. Their world is ours, their choices reflected in our own. The question is not whether exploitation continues, it does. The question is whether we will keep turning away, as they did, or finally face the truth. Civilization has always had a price. The only real measure of progress is whether we are willing to stop paying it with the lives of the forgotten.